Welcome to the conference. The module is CF83. This lecture will be on business studies. I have a reading list for you, built to last, the successful habits of visionary companies. And what is in that book is what we have two of at the Welsh Government, BHAGs. We have two BHAGs. This is a very common field. Ask anyone who has an MBA. Big, hairy, audacious goals. We have a goal of 1 million Welsh speakers. That's what we're aiming for by 2050. And we want to double the percentage of the people who use more than a few words every day. We don't want to double the use of Welsh in general. That's different. That's the background of the team that is led by Bethan and that I am part of. What else are we doing? We're doing an awful lot. But we're not to discuss. We're not here to discuss what we do today. We're here to thank Colin for his work. So this photograph was taken just down the corridor in the council room. Sioned and Glyn were there on this day. This is when I graduated for my PhD studies with Colin in 2000. It's a lovely picture. I've gone through quite a few suits since then. I've got a lot less hair, but I am wearing the same tie. I'm only wearing it for the second time since that day today, and I'm glad to say it still fits around my neck. There are hashtags for the conference today. You will have seen them at the bottom of every slide. Dr. Llŷr Gwyn Lewis suggested another hashtag, which I rejected because I thought it was inappropriate. But the real reason was because I wanted to steal it for today, and it was ColCon. So Col, welcome to your con. I have 5 things about you which I would like to say in my presentation. So, this is the first. What did I learn with Colin? The importance of humour and friendship, relaxing. We had a laugh, and we still have a laugh. You've seen pictures of us there in parties. We wouldn't have done that with my lecturer in the previous university I went to. But between 1995 and 2000, I had a real laugh, and the friendship has continued. The second thing is that we need to acknowledge the work of others, and I'm not just talking about bibliographies here, because that's everyone who's been a student of mine. The answer to bibliographies is EndNote, because it does all the work for you. We have to recognise and acknowledge the work of others. Colin won a research contract and insisted that my name went on the report. It was against the wishes of some people, no one in this room though. But thanks to Colin, that set me up at the beginning of my career, a career that would not have existed were it not for Colin. The third thing I learned is never listen to the radio on a bus. This is a bit circuitous, and you have no idea what I'm going to say here, do you, Colin? On that day, in July 2000, we had just been to St David's Hall and had listened to Neil Kinnock speaking as he was handing out PhDs. He was the former leader of the Labour Party. This was before devolution, and he spoke warmly about his background and that he was the first member of his family to go to university. He'd come from a deprived community, and that was the exact same background as I had come from. I was the first person from my family to go to university. Thinking of doing a doctorate was just something that hadn't crossed my mind until I saw an advert. I think it was in Golwg, a Welsh language weekly magazine. When I was teaching Welsh to other people in Lampeter, I did my degree in Aberystwyth. I then did a master's in French, which I wasn't keen on. I was lacking in confidence. former students of mine will have heard me talk about valleitis, and I can say this because I'm from the Rhondda Valley. I suffered from valleitis, and it's a problem with confidence of people who come from former industrial areas. I've got rid of that now, which I hope you can see, but it was a real feeling that I truly felt at the time. I felt very nervous coming from Aberystwyth on the Trans-Cambria coach. Many of you will remember this. It took 5 hours to travel from Aberystwyth to Cardiff. I was really nervous. And I came to an interview with Colin and Professor Glyn Jones in Cardiff. I didn't know Cardiff at all, the big city. I turned the Walkman on to listen to the radio on the way, and I listened to Radio 4. I thought I would hear the story of the afternoon, but what came on the radio was, today we're discussing language policy in Scotland and Wales.
Is Professor Colin Williams of Cardiff University. Colin just didn't say he was sick.
I then felt sick. I was so nervous. I hadn't even reached Atwalis, a little village on the way to Carmarthen. So never listen to the radio when on your bus, especially if you're on the way to an interview. As it happens, the interview went well. They were very kind to me. Thank you, Colin. Thank you, Glyn. And I was given the scholarship because, going back to Neil Kinnock, without that scholarship I would never have been able to afford to do the PhD. So my thanks goes to Cardiff University, or the University of Wales, Cardiff at the time.
The fourth thing I learned from Colin, the fourth Colcon, is bit awkward, isn't it? There's no such thing so bad as a blank page. You can edit a bad page, you can't edit a blank page. Right. And as somebody else said, during studies with you, the main product of a PhD is waste, and there was plenty of waste I had, for sure. So there's nothing as bad as a blank page. And the fifth thing, we've had a lot of preparatory work. Lots of the speakers have been speaking to each other. We've got a narrative that dovetails through the whole speeches, because what I want to punctuate my speech with today is, so what? That is really what is reverberating around my head from the time I spent with Colin, from my tutorials. Why are you doing that? What's the point? Justify what you're doing. Justify what you're saying. And that's really good advice. So, thanks very much. And I'm still using the so what. And so what. I'm going to talk about it today. So, tell them what you're going to tell them. Then tell them what you've told them. That's, again, good advice for any presentation. I'm going to talk about all of these. This is not a research conference, but a conference on good practice. I hope that what I'm going to share will be examples of good practice that Welsh Government share. You're more than welcome to critique, or, I get that every day anyway. I'm going to talk about the importance of leadership, taking the Welsh language outside of the world of language and bringing other disciplines into language policy. Values, emotion, identity, innovation and good practice, and do we, as a default, to tend to provide linguistic answers to the challenges that face our language? More on that later. Because the intention, according to the Wellbeing of Future Generations Act, is of areas of vibrant culture and thriving Welsh language. The Welsh language isn't thriving, Frank.
Very niche Welsh language.
Very niche Welsh. Niche joke there. There's a joke that couldn't be translated there about the two Franks. So the Welsh language is not thriving. Yes, it is. So we want the Welsh language to thrive. And in order for the Welsh language to thrive, we needed to do different things. Marion Priest-Jones is sitting here. He paid for me to do an MLP, New Linguistic Programming course, when I worked with the Welsh language. But thanks very much, Marion. A lot of it was hocus pocus. But some parts of it were good, and one of the things that I learned was, if you always do what you always done, you'll always get what you've always got. So we've got to change things. We've got to change the way we think. We've got to change the way we speak. We've got to create a new climate, and the BHAGs do that. or contribute to that. So the first example of what I think is innovative is our Leading in a Bilingual Country programme, which was intervened by COVID, but coming soon to an area near you, hopefully, before too long. So what is it? Who's it for? It's for senior leaders, C-suite, chiefs, top dogs. But not for Welsh language officers, because what Welsh language officers have told us is that the C-suite are the people who need to be influenced, so we've gone after those. And that includes, what are the rules, what are the ground rules? These. Everybody needs to feel safe. There is a call for action. It's a safe space for people to share their views and their values and their experiences and their emotions, and talk about that through an unconscious bias prism, because we tend, maybe in the language policy area, we have lots of people from that area here today, tend to be too informational in the way we talk about our language. Our language. Language awareness, yes, great. I did a review of many programmes of learning resources around language awareness before we put together the Leading in a Bilingual Country programme, which is a programme jointly between ourselves and Academy of Wales. So we've got organisational development experts and all kinds of people like that. So as the review was undertaken with particularly good examples, with some exceptions, some particularly good exceptions, I should say. There's many people said that Harriet was bad for the Welsh language. Welsh language looks like this. Lots of people like the Welsh language. Thanks very much. There needs to be more than that. There needs to be engagement with people, and what is the so what that emanates from that work. All of that work. The main thing, you know this, is emotion. Language is about emotion. And there are all kinds of emotions that come out in sessions around Leading in a Bilingual Country. I'm not going to give anybody's name alongside any of these quotes, but the Welsh language can be problematic for many people. And there's a need for a safe space to discuss that in a way which is constructive, which is safe. There's one quote from one person on one of the 3 cohorts so far that is haunting me. Someone who had Welsh medium education between the age of 3 and 18, who said, I just didn't feel enough. I didn't feel enough. Enough what? Enough Cymraeg, enough Welsh. I didn't feel it. I was made to feel that I wasn't Cymraeg or Welsh enough. That stays with me, and I think, that revisits me. Those sessions become very, very emotional. Perhaps you'll have used the Read Across the Aisle app. I've read some papers from America. I've used it to do that, to see what those media feed to people who don't think the same way as I do. That's part of the methodology which is used here. And it's become quite organic for a lot of people. People taking sessions themselves. Dr. Ben Screen at the back is going to do a session in the next cohort on leadership and organisational development and embedding the Welsh language in all of that. So, how do the people on these courses feel about bilingualism? How proud are they of it? Well, I can tell you, they all feel particularly proud. They really wanted to do something to push the agenda forward. Sometimes they don't know how, but our intention is to embed that in different frameworks and applications for Wales, for directors, for managers, for heads, for chief executives, those very people who make the decisions that are going to help Welsh language officers. So what? So what? We've got to speak differently about our language if we are going to change things. Students at University of Wales Trinity St David, this will be your assessment in your session with us a week next Monday, so pay attention specifically to this now. This is the last, but one time, the penultimate one time I'll be giving this presentation. It's about the Welsh language brand, because we are moving forward to brand 2.0, and we want to know what that that is, because everything that I'm about to say is quite simple. Language equals emotion. So Colin's talked about narratives, verbal strategies, and things at the beginning. And yes, I am going to talk about this because we haven't been able to find anywhere else in the world that's done an analysis of a language brand. We worked with a company that works with these lovely organisations to analyse what the essence of the Welsh language was. A discourse, a critical discourse analysis was undertaken to get behind the words to understand what people thought when they were talking about the Welsh language. And of course then the so what is what to do about it. And there are some tips and tricks that I have to share with you today. I know that several of you have seen part of this presentation before, but I'd like to ask you and talk to you about how this has gone for you since you saw the last presentation. Do you use the tips and tricks? You don't have to. That would be inauthentic if you didn't want to, you didn't feel obliged to. But what I want to know from you is, where do we go next with this? Okay, emotion number one. Belonging. Everybody wants to belong. The feeling of belonging is what the Welsh language is to many, many people. There are 250 slides in the deck, not today. Somebody really wants to talk about verbal strategies in Welsh there on the phone. So everybody wants to belong. On the left-hand side, we've got people from the focus groups who were Welsh speakers, and on the right, we have people who were non-Welsh speakers. And I sat in these focus groups, and they were unbelievably interesting because they got to a thematic plateau very quickly. Everybody thought the same. Belonging. The Welsh language is something that belongs to me. I'm delighted that I'm able to speak it, or I'm not like them, I don't belong. And that can be dangerous. The need to belong is, well, blow me down with a feather. The Welsh language is associated to Welsh identity. We've avoided that. We thought that perhaps it was a little bit too controversial. It is an integral part of the identity of our country. We could use it to include, or to block people out, but why would we? So I'm going to talk in a moment then more about this later on. So there will be emotional benefits which will unite rather than divide. Reading list item number 2, the political brain, that talks about a narrative and what a narrative can do. It's particularly powerful. Speaking Welsh creates an emotional connection for people around me. Have we been too benefity when we've talked about the language? Have we talked about the benefits of bilingualism? Please come and do Welsh. Here are the benefits. Because that is one model which is going to have some traction, it is, but is it going to have all the traction if you do that plus emotion? Here are the benefits of bilingualism. Here are the benefits, Bialystok paper, la 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 la, and yes, send Johnny to Welsh Medium School, he'll get a better job. That's been said. Rather than maybe think about how proud you'll feel when you see your little Johnny running around, speaking a language he didn't speak 2 months ago that you never had the chance to learn, and that kind of thing. That's come straight off the top of my head, but there is a need. Really, we've got to go beyond the rationality and this benefity. It's not me saying that. It's the people who've said this by extension, and the Behaviour Change Company. The Behaviour Change Company, a different communications company. I did ask them to do a peer review on this, and they said, a bit too benefity. So,
one nation, one community, one voice. Improvement in your own ability is success. That has come from that very company.
un o'r decks cynhara o'n gwaith.
And it's one of the earlier decks of our work with them. Improvement in your own ability is success. We have to celebrate those small steps. Just need to celebrate those victories because the Welsh language for many people, including many Welsh speakers, is one block. It's all black and white.
We've got to do Welsh.
We've got to do Welsh. How do we do that?
Do a little bit of Welsh. Do a little bit of that. Do a little bit of that. Don't have to label a fuse boxes in Welsh today. Put a sign up there. Little bit of this. The Welsh language is a feeling, not just a skill. Felly, so what? Dyma theory.
So this is the theory.
Brands.
Brand essence. I don't really like discussing brands. You could be selling Mars bars, but the methodology is the same. And we're just scratching the surface here. This is the first piece of work, and then COVID came, and we're just about to start thinking about the follow-ups to this. So we have key verbals and power words. Hope. Yes, we can. In the campaign of Barack Obama, Make America Great Again, that came from Trump's presidential campaign. These are examples of narratives used in a particularly powerful way with a lot of research behind them because they resonate psychologically with humans, especially when the rule of three is used. Okay, so what does this mean for the Welsh language? I'm coming towards the end of my presentation. Sorry, I haven't mentioned the F word yet. I like talking about the F word during presentations. The F word is fluency. And what people said in our focus groups was, what is fluency? You can't define fluency. And people use that to self-police. I'm not fluent. I just have Welsh to speak at home. I'm not a fluent speaker. Someone's phoning my phone. I won't answer now.
Fluency is an F word.
Fluency is an F word. Remember that.
Befores and afters.
So, befores and afters. Charlotte Eyre has said here, this is a real-life tweet.
If you know of any good courses in London, let me know.
Someone like me, Dead Hand of the State, responds in this characteristic way.
I'm not going to tell you what they are or where you can get them. Please let us know. You make the effort, Charles. You want to learn Welsh. You want to put a hard yarn in you. Please let us know if you would like me to point you in the right direction so you can start your long, hard, arduous, never-ending journey to fluency.
How about this one instead? We did some testing on this on Twitter, and we have had higher engagement results on the second one.
Just do a little bit, then do a little bit more, then just do a little bit more. And
if you do that little bit more, then you reach a situation, rather than doing Welsh being an amorphous thing, it can be little steps.
Great news.
Note the contraction. The company told us that contractions give a warmer tone. I didn't believe them. I did it. It really works.
That's great news. Welcome to our Welsh-speaking teulu. So we can see, hey Charlotte,
so the tone here is different. Just trivializes the perception of that effort that she needs to make.
Course today, immediacy effect. Good luck, Charlotte, you can do it. Come out, 50 coin. Okay. Mohon and horrible.
This is horrible.
If you haven't used the Welsh language for many years since leaving school, then you'll probably struggle to speak Welsh properly and fluently as defined by me, someone better than you. One answer, there may be others, I'm not sure if I can be bothered to tell you, may be to follow a gliding Iaith course which can help you brush up skills and tackle your low confidence. Gliding Iaith course, yeah, you go. Just together can. Find your voice today, bit cheesy.
The next sentence is genius.
if your Welsh hasn't been part of your routine for a while, right, let me stop you there.
I'm going to stop there. So it's your Welsh. It belongs to you already. You have it already. The inference being you used to use it and you can still do it. This is really clever. We didn't write this.
If you're,
We can write clever things as well, of course.
hasn't been part of your routine for a while, by attending just just one of the outcomes, you can feel more confident. Get together, so togetherness and gymuned.
But that feeling of community comes from the word together with our community.
A single hour to brush up with your skills can help your confidence. Okay, so what?
How we speak about our language to other people who are less confident or who have less interest or no interest at all in the language is all important.
Watch our words. Just together can.
So, just together can. Fluency is an F word. There are 3 words that start with a C in Welsh. Cyfeillgar, cynnes and grasawgar. Friendly, warm and welcoming. That's the basis of all of this. And that all of that contributes to the discussion that Colin started on changing behaviour. I'm afraid I don't have time to go into this fully today, but we are doing work on that.
Easy, attractive, social, timely. Is it easy? Is it attractive? Are
other people doing it? Do I have the time to do it, or is it going to take more time? Easy, attractive, social, timely. This is a new behavioural framework boiled down from a mind space that Colin mentioned. And then, Gwenllian, where is she? This comes from something that hasn't been published yet, a piece of work that Mudiad Ysgolion Meithrin, the Association of Nursery Schools, has been doing along with us on approaches to changing behaviour, to intergenerational language transmission. Sally Wynne Islwyn started this work when she worked for the Welsh Government. Thank you for all the work you did on this. And it's simple. It's a COM-B model. Capabilities, opportunities, motivation equals behaviour. Every language initiative, every organisation, every one of us can apply this to our language behaviour. Is there capability?
No, therefore no ambiguity. Is there capability and opportunities? Yes. Are there motivations that are recognized? No. No ambiguity.
No behaviour at the end, if one of these is lacking. And we can make these things very complex, and Colin used a similar slide in bringing his presentation to an end. I think of the Welsh language or a language policy a little bit like the obesity map. I'm not sure if you've seen it, but it's the complexity of the work undertaken by people who are in this room is huge, and I hope I've given you a few so whats to set you on your way. Colin, thank you very much for your inspiration and for your leadership and guidance, and I'm going to sit down now.